Hello again, fourth year students. Today we are going to talk about another type of questions in English, which is called the WH questions. So, WH questions are formed with the aid of one of the simple interrogative words, or we call them question words. Who, whom, whose, what, which, when, where, how, why, and so many other WH words can be used to form WH questions when we put these words at the beginning of the question. And as you see here, they are called question words. So what is the rule that we have to follow in making a WH question? In fact, this rule has 2 points. Point number one says that the question element, let's say the clause element containing the question word, comes first in the sentence. So WH questions start with the question word. What are these question words? These question words, they are usually the words that start with WH. That's why we call them WH words. Apart from some conjunct and disjunct, which means that the same WH words that we can use to make WH questions can also be used as conjunct coordinators. Okay, so here you have to differentiate between the WH words that are used as coordinators and the WH words that we can use to make WH questions. You see here there are examples of the most common WH words or WH question words that we can use to make WH questions. For example, we have who. We use who when we ask about a person. Who is that woman? Where is used to ask about a place or position. Where do you live? When is used to ask about time, occasion, moment. When can I see you? When did you last see him? Why is used to ask about reason or explanation. Why were you late? Why was he late? What is used to ask about specific thing or object. What's the matter? What time is it? How is used to ask about a way, manner, form. How does it work? How do you go to school? Which is used to ask about choice. Which is better exercise, swimming or tennis? Which of the applicants has got the job? How many is used to ask about quantity, and mainly it is used to ask about countable nouns. For example, how many people were there? How often? It is used to ask about frequency. How often do you go swimming? You see, these are only examples of the WH words or WH question words and how we can use them in making WH questions. Rule number two says that the question word itself, moreover, takes first position in the question element. So this is what we have seen in the previous examples. WH questions start with WH question words. The only exception to this principle is when the question word occurs in a prepositional complement. Here, English provides a choice between two constructions, one formal and the other colloquial. In formal style, the preposition precedes the complement, whereas in colloquial style, the complement comes first and the preposition is left trailing at the end of the sentence. Okay, so to explain rule number two, we can change this statement into a WH question. The statement is, I base my prediction on your report. So this is a statement, and we want to change it into a WH question by asking about your report. Your report is an object, is something. And the suitable WH word that can be used to make a WH question asking about it is what. But here you have to examine, or sorry, to notice that your report, this element that we want to ask about, is preceded by a preposition on. Okay, so when I want to ask about your report by using what, also I have to put into consideration the preposition. Where am I going to use the preposition in my question? Here they said that in English there are two choices for the place of the preposition in the WH question. Either it is going to be put at the beginning of the WH question before the WH word, so the question will be, on what did you base your prediction? And this is what formal English. Or we keep on as a preposition at the end, trailing at the end of the sentence, at the tail of the sentence of the question, sorry. So the question will be, what did you base your prediction on? And such a question or such a structure of a WH question is mainly favored in colloquial, in informal English. So they say here, we may perhaps express this difference more neatly by saying that colloquial English insists that the question word comes first, while formal English insists that the question element as a whole comes first. Okay, there are some notes that we have to pay attention to when making WH questions in English. Note number 1 says that WH questions are said with a falling tone. So they are not like the yes-no questions that are said with rising tones. WH questions, I repeat, are said on a falling tone. Number 2, the WH question element takes the function of the element it is asking about. And for example, who helps you? Here, if I ask you about the pattern of the sentence, you are going to say that the pattern of the sentence consists of who as a subject, helps as a verb, and you as a direct object. So you see, here, the question word who takes the the function of the element that it is asking about. We know that who is used to ask about the subject. Originally this sentence was, for example, he helps me. So if I want to ask about he, I'm going to say who helps you. So who functions as subject. Whom did you see? So we have a question, WH question starts with whom. And if we go back to the original form of the sentence, it was I saw John in the street. Okay, so here when I want to ask about John, which functions as a direct object in the sentence, I am going to choose to use either who or whom. So here, whom, for example, whom did you see? Whom here functions as what? As the object, because the element that it is used to ask about, which is John in the original sentence, was functioning as what? A direct object. The same thing with where did you put your coat? Where? Okay, so we know that where is a WH word that is used to ask about a place, so it is going to take the function of an adverb of a place. How often did you visit your aunt? So how often, again, it is an adverb of a frequency, because if I go back to the original form of the sentence, it is going to be I visited my aunt 3 times a week. So to ask about 3 times a week, you have to use how often. We know that 3 times a week is an adverb of a frequency. So when I ask about it by using how often is also going to function as what? As adverb of a frequency. You can find more examples about the WH words and the WH questions and the function of the WH words in these questions by going to page 197 in your textbook. Note number 3 says that the normal statement order of elements is upset in WH questions not only by the initial placing of the question element but by the inversion of subject and operator in all cases, except that in which the question element is subject, where the rule of initial question element takes precedence over the rule of inversion. This note wants to tell us that when I have a statement and I want to change it into a WH question, I'm going to change its structure because I know that the WH question should start with a WH question word, okay, followed by operator, and this operator is going to be followed by the subject, and after the subject we use the main verb. So here we are applying the rule of subject operator inversion. This rule, I mean the subject operator inversion, is applicable or should be applied with all types of WH questions except when you are asking about the subject. So when you are asking about the subject, you only need to use the suitable WH word and put it at the beginning of the sentence without making or without applying the rule of subject operator inversion. Number 4, subject operator inversion is the same in its application to WH questions as in its application to yes/no questions. So if you remember, when we want to make a yes/no question, we said that the operator comes before the subject. From where I'm going to take the operator? If the original statement has an operator, I don't have a problem. I can use the operator as it is to make what the WH question or the yes/no question. But suppose that you don't have an operator in this statement. Here, as we have learned, we have to go to the dummy auxiliaries do, does, and did, and choose the suitable one suitable one of them according to the tense and the subject of the statement. Suppose that you have a statement whose main verb is be. So here also the verb be itself can work as an operator and make for you a WH question. Suppose that your main verb is have, and he said that in British English have also can act as an operator. So for example, how are you? This is a WH question whose main verb and operator at the same time is the verb to be are. Who have we? This is a WH question whose main verb and operator at the same time is have, and such a question is used in former British English, as you remember. Rule number 5 says that although there is no verbal question element or question word for English, the content of the verbal element can be questioned by what? So if you remember the examples we talked about before, we said that each WH word is used to ask about a certain element or a certain meaning, a certain word in the sentence. But what about the verb? If I want to ask about the verb, which represents the action or tell us about the action in the sentence or the statement. Here, they said that there is no specific question word that can be used about the verb, and in this case, we can use what. Okay, so when I am going to use what to ask about the verb, what is going to be the function of what? This word, what, in the WH question. In fact, he says that what is going to take or to be or to function as the object of the generalized agentive verb do. For example, what are you doing? So the question is, what are you doing? The answer, I'm reading. Okay, I'm reading. So here I am using what as the WH word in order to ask about the action, about the verb, and you see at the same time I am not specifying which verb because I don't know, I am asking. That's why I am using the general verb, which is do. Here, if I want to ask about if I ask you about the pattern of this question, what are you doing? You are going to say that what is the WH question or a question word that functions as a direct object. Are is the verb. Are doing is the verb, and you is what is the subject. What have you done to or with my book? I've hidden it. Okay, so you see here, when we want to ask about hidden as a verb, we use what, and also in the question we replace hidden by the verb, the general verb do. And because we are asking about, we don't know what was he doing. Was he hiding something or doing something else? We don't know. That's why we have replaced the verb hidden by the general verb done. Number 6, an indirect object cannot act as question element. Instead of whom did you give the present, the equivalent prepositional complement construction is used. Whom did you give the present to, or to whom did you give the present? Okay, so if you want, or if you have a statement with an indirect object and you want to ask about the indirect object, here because it is an object, you can use either who or whom. Okay, but what is the form of your WH question? It has to be, because you are asking about the indirect object, here it has to be as a form with a WH question with what? With a preposition. And as you remember, we talked before about the place of the preposition in the WH question and how it is different between the formal English and the colloquial or informal English. So if you want to ask about it in the informal or colloquial English, you are going to keep the preposition at the end. So your sentence or real question will be, who or whom did you give the present to? But in the formal English, they say that you have to put the preposition before the WH word. So your question is going to be, to whom did you give the present? So you see here in the formal English, because you are putting the preposition before the WH word, you cannot use to who. You have to use to whom. Is it clear? So whom, only whom can be preceded by a preposition, but who cannot be preceded by a preposition. Number 7, agents of instrument, reason, and purpose are normally questions by prepositional constructions. For example, what shall I mend it with? Here I am asking about instrument. Okay, what shall I mend it with? I am asking about the instrument that you can use to fix something. So here I am using a prepositional construction. What with? Okay, what did you do that for? What did you do that for? This is a question, a WH question asking about reason. We can say it in another way. We can say simply use why. Why did you do that? Okay, why did you do that? This is also a question about reason by using why. Or you can use what for. What did you do that for? Here you are using a prepositional construction to ask about reason. So they say that when you are asking or you want to ask about these things, these meanings, instrument, reason, and purpose, you can use or you have to use a prepositional constructions, and you have only one place for the preposition in these questions, which is going to be at the end of the question, just like what we learned about the colloquial or informal English. So it has no alternative with a proposed preposition. So the preposition here cannot be put at the beginning of the question. Which types of meaning? Instrument, reason, and purpose. So we cannot say, for what did you do that? Okay, this is incorrect. In this respect, it is like informal questions with be followed by a final preposition. For example, what was it like? What was it like? Here, this WH question has the verb to be as a main verb, and it ends with a preposition. So, can we put the preposition here at the beginning of the question? Can we say, like what was it? No, because here again, why? Because here the main verb is the verb to be. And when the main verb is the verb to be, WH questions cannot start with what? With prepositions. Prepositions should be kept at the end of the sentence, just like what we learned about how to make WH questions or prepositional constructions in informal or colloquial English. Number 8, abbreviated questions consisting of a question word and final preposition, which in this construction regularly bears nuclear stress, are used or are popular in colloquial speech. For example, where from or where to, what for, what with, who with, or who by. Okay, so you see, these are abbreviated questions. They are missing some elements in their structure. These questions, they only have in their structure the WH word and the preposition that comes at the end of the sentence. And here, of the question, sorry. And here they say that the preposition is the element that is going to take the nuclear stress of the question. Also, you can find in colloquial English abbreviated question with only the question word. For example, where, who, why. Okay, so you can hear that in conversation some people are saying or are asking by using only the WH word, but they are not saying the complete question, the complete form of the WH question, but still they are understood here because we are depending here on the context in understanding what the speaker wants to say. Also, there is a common abbreviated negative question. Most of the times we say, why not? Okay, this is a negative abbreviated WH question that is so commonly used in a conversation or in informal. So this is what I have to say about the WH question. And I'm going to end this video with giving you an exercise about the WH questions. So you see here in this exercise you have 10 sentences. They are missing. These sentences come in the form of WH questions, but they are missing their WH word question, their WH question words. So what you need to do is please stop the video and do these questions, do these sentences, complete them by choosing the suitable WH question word from the list that you have at the top. Okay, after you finish, please, I'm going to ask you in the class about the grammatical function of the WH word in each of these 10 questions. Okay, good luck and thank you.